Howdy ho, welcome back to the show. In this portion of the SABATON history of Ghost Division, this is going to be really cool, and the song was epic. Playing it live at the Woodstock in Poland was amazing, truly amazing. And now I want to check out the story behind the song, the history behind it, and I love that SABATON does this. So all you guys out there, thank you for joining me on this. If you'd like to join our family of musical lovers, that link is below as well. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to pull up the screen and hit the old thumbs up button right there. Got my closed caption on, I believe. Well, we'll see how this works out. Sometimes it don't work out very well. But all right. This should be cool. Kids, buckle up. Let's get some history learning here.
Everyone, my name is Erwin Rommel.
Yes, and I am Erwin Rommel's assistant, Candy. SABATON history.
Oh my goodness.
You asked for it, and now you got it.
Ghost Division.
You wanted the best?
You got the best.
Ghost Division!
Yeah!
At 5:30 a.m. on May 10th, 1940, the great German gamble in the West, Case Yellow, was about to begin. Generalmajor Erwin Rommel had just a few months earlier been transferred from the Führer Begleit Battalion to the command of the German 7th Panzer Division. As part of the 15th Motorized Armee Corps, it would be the mission of his 7th to guard the right flank of Panzer Group Kleist, which was to drive a Schwerpunkt into France. His immediate goal was to penetrate the Belgian border defenses and push through the densely forested and hilly terrain of the Ardennes forest as quickly as possible. Time was essential. They only had a short window of 3 or 4 days to cross the river Muse. If they did not manage that, the whole offensive might fail. From the get-go, Rommel pushed his division hard. Vital to his advance were the motorcycle and armored reconnaissance units of Kladschützen Battalion 7, who raced ahead to scout and clear the quickest route for his tanks. These ultra-mobile units could not only cover a large distance much more quickly than any tank, but also could carry enough firepower to tackle obstacles and resistance. Advancing rapidly, the division moved the first day across the river Ort and made headway to Dinant, advancing 90 kilometers in a single day. They soon outpaced their neighboring units, the 5th Panzer Division to the north and the 23rd Infantry Division to the south, and contact was repeatedly lost. With the Muse just 35 kilometers away, Rommel wanted to rest for a minimal amount of time and be on the move again as quickly as possible. Looking neither left nor right, he raced ahead with his forward units of his tanks, keeping close contact only with his reconnaissance units. At Dinant, they smashed through a strong French force, and the 7th got its first real taste of armored combat. By the afternoon of the 12th, his forces had already reached the mighty river Muse. Now, this far, Rommel had enjoyed the blessings of his superior, General Hermann Hoth, who supported the idea of aggressive tank spearheads. Taking risks was necessary. And thanks to Rommel, the Muse had been indeed reached in record time. But it needed to be crossed. Kleist, commanding the whole Panzer Corps, opted to rest his units for the night. After they had reorganized and gotten enough support from the air, they would begin the crossing of the Muse late afternoon the next day. Rommel, however, thought that air support would be modest at best, and instead ordered only a short rest for his division. At first light, the 7th went on the attack again. It was a hard fight. The French would not let them cross without resistance, but the hasty attack prevented the French from putting together enough force to stop them. Personally leading his tanks across the Muse, Rommel remained always close to the fighting. From his experience as a stormtroop leader in the Great War, Rommel knew the importance of keeping the initiative. Speed would be both their sword and their shield. The faster they advanced, the more likely it was to catch the enemy off guard. Right. They had to ensure that the battle would be fought on their terms.
The invasion has begun. Shaking the ground with a force of 1,000 guns. First in the line of fire. First into hostile land. Tanks leading the way.
while the mass of German troops was busy.
So it makes sense why the lines in the song about first to fight, first to be in the field. It's because of Rommel pushing that division force, and I didn't realize how big the theater of operations was, really.
While the mass of German troops was busy crossing the Muse all that whole day, Rommel did not even think of rest. He had to move west, ever west. It did not take long for strong French and Belgian forces to find them. Their superior heavy Char B-1 and SOMUA tanks threatened his troops with disaster time and time again. But Rommel's energetic leadership and improvisation skills gave him the upper hand. He was not afraid to take immense risks now, as this whole endeavor was one big risk anyway. For example, one misty morning they were surprised by a French tank attack. Rommel went right up to the front, ordering his troops to fire their signal pistols at the incoming tanks. Surprised and confused, the French tanks veered off. That gave Rommel's artillery enough time to find its targets. By the night of the 14th, the Germans had successfully punched through the last line of defense at the Muse River. The command, "Pursue with all weapons," meant that French resistance in that area had been broken. The next day, Rommel found himself staring down the French-Belgian border at Montcornet, as a halt order was imposed on all of Hoth's divisions. They were standing in front of the extended Maginot Line. It was not as well fortified as the Maginot Line to the east and south, but still dangerous enough that they were given the direct order to not risk the tanks and leave it to the infantry to break through. By late afternoon of the 16th, though, Hoth gave the cautious order to probe the defenses. However, he almost immediately clarified that no breakthrough should be attempted. But Rommel was long gone by then. The 7th Division crossed the French border on its own and spotted a whole system of interlocking concrete bunkers with armored cupolas, tank ditches, and other obstacles. At first glance, it seemed impossible to break through without heavy artillery and air support. But as the sun was fading, Rommel decided to attempt something unseen before in military history: a surprise armored night attack directly against a fortified line while on the move. It was near suicidal, but it was also the last thing the French fortress divisions had anticipated that night. The first tanks of Rommel's armored wedge smashed through the first defenses before the French were able to react. Still, resistance was formidable. Vehicles were knocked out left and right by anti-tank guns and artillery firing from the bunkers. Nevertheless, enough German tanks were already within the perimeter to silence the forward bunkers with direct hits. In that lull, the 7th's combat engineers moved into action, throwing themselves with satchel charges and flamethrowers against the fieldworks. Firing on the move to all sides, the Panzers sped on, quickly followed by the agile motorcycle companies. The only way to escape now was forward. At top speed, they raced towards the French artillery, never stopping. At 11 at night, they had finally punched through the second line and suddenly saw only open terrain in front of them. Rommel wrote this in his diary: "We were through the Maginot Line. It was hardly conceivable. 22 years before, we had stood for 4.5 long years before those self-same enemy and had won victory after victory, but yet finally lost the war. And now we had broken through the renowned Maginot Line and were driving deep into enemy territory. It was not just a beautiful dream, it was reality." But even this unimaginable success would be only temporary if not exploited. Instead of stopping, Rommel drove his armored spearhead onward, speeding at night over the French roads toward the city of Avesnes. They suddenly crashed right into the French 5th Motorized Infantry Division, which had neatly parked its tanks and vehicles on the roadside before going to sleep. Now, they awoke to the sound of grinding metal and the fire of heavy guns. Paralyzed by the sudden, violent appearance, the surviving French scattered in all directions, throwing down their weapons in panic. Rommel was gone as quickly as he had arrived. All along the road to Avesnes, the French were caught by surprise, and soon the night was illuminated by burning tanks and trucks. By 6 a.m., Rommel stood at the Sambre River, but as the sun rose, he came to the grim realization that he was in a seriously dangerous situation. He'd been so busy advancing almost 50 kilometers over the night
He's
that
by
he
himself.
had not noticed that only the few tanks of his spearhead and a handful of motorcycle platoons had been able to keep up with his ludicrous speed. In fact, much of the main body was still at the Maginot Line and on Belgian territory. Ammunition and fuel were low, so Rommel ordered his battered and exhausted tank crews to guard the bridge, while he himself would establish contact with the rest of his forces.
Wow.
It must have dawned on him that his daring exploit had left his forces isolated in the midst of enemy territory. So, pedal to the metal, the crew of his armored command vehicle raced back along the same road back to the east. News spread fast. French soldiers spoke of a German breakthrough, causing further chaos and confusion. French high command tried to make sense of the reports, which seemingly multiplied the advancing forces by the hour. No one knew where this German division was or what it had planned. So this operation earned the 7th Panzer Division the French nickname La Division Fantôme, the Ghost Division.
They are the Panzer elite, born to compete, never retreat. Living or dead, always ahead, fed by your dread.
On his
Wow.
way back, Rommel encountered whole columns of confused, directionless French soldiers whose officers did not know how to react to the news. It could not have helped that suddenly a German armored vehicle was racing towards them from the other direction, firing wildly and scattering them off the road. Rommel ordered his driver not to stop for anything, but suddenly they were behind a large column of trucks moving towards the front. Now, bear with me here.
Uh-oh.
A convoy of 40 trucks was guarded with machine guns, and Rommel drove up and passed it. Then he stopped the lead vehicle, told the French officer to stand down, and then ordered the crew of 40 trucks to get out and disperse. And he basically did this with his commanding tone and his German general's uniform alone. And this is not the only occasion he did something like that. And such was the chaos that French soldiers actually came up to his vehicle, hopefully asking, "Anglais?" But it was a ghost division for German command as well. Rommel had presented them with a fait accompli. The French lines were breached, but on such a narrow front that many believed it was a trap set by the French to lure them in. Nonetheless, the success of his unauthorized push had not only saved countless German lives, but also decisively sped up the whole campaign by days or even weeks. The French Second Corps had dissolved in panic. The First French Armored Division was more or less wiped out, and many other French divisions were disorganized or badly mauled. Rommel's attack was an extreme version of German operational warfare, but its strongest effect was psychological. Anything short of a breakthrough would have seen Rommel court-martialed, but his success earned him the Knight's Cross instead. Adolf Hitler himself congratulated Rommel after the campaign, but also scolded him with the words, "Your raid has cost me a sleepless night." Hitler was certainly not the only one.
Oh, I'm sure.
They are the Panzer elite, born to compete, never retreat.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. That's, I was figuring all his commanding officers must have been pissed. You know, even though he's a general, he could still get scolded. I mean, everyone is doing one thing. The commanding officer is telling him to do this, and he is doing his own thing. Wow, that's crazy. That's a crazy story about him on his way back, and the crazy confusion, and oh my goodness, that's nuts.
They are the Panzer elite, born to compete, never retreat. Living or dead, always ahead, fed by your dread.
Joachim's going to need a knee replacement. Keeps pounding on himself like that.
Now, Ghost Division is one of the most, if not the most, requested songs of this entire Sabaton History series.
Wow.
And we haven't specifically saved it to starve people of what they want to see, but we wanted to space out like your hits and your most popular songs and stuff. Okay, so now we're here at Ghost Division. What's the first thing that leaps to your mind when you think of not the fans, not the popularity of the song, but the song?
Oh, good question. so much. I mean, it was new for us, that style being so hard-hitting and direct, but also so many memories. I mean, some of the strongest memories we can have from a concert is the first couple of seconds on stage. Sometimes, I mean, we might have been on the stage sound checking, which we usually have, rarely see in the crowd. And for us, I mean, imagine some of the strongest memories I have is running out in front of hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands, and in a few cases, hundreds of thousands of people with the words, "Fast as the wind, the invasion has begun."
The invasion has begun. Shaking the ground
There it
with
is.
the force of thousand guns.
Those are powerful memories, my friends. That is, wow, yeah. I got a reel playing in my head. I wish I could show you what's going on in my head right now. This is a weird one, actually. I remember it very clearly. It's how we're standing on stage. This is in Athens, 2008, 2009.
Okay, a little while ago.
Yeah, and we're playing the song Ghost Division. And all of a sudden, everything goes, I'm still singing this, but everything goes into slow motion mode, or, you know, maybe moving at a higher clock
So far, this
frequency.
is incredibly hippie, and I have
Yeah.
no idea where you're going with this.
There were no drugs involved in this experience. Anyway, I remember totally like, whoa, here I am in Greece, having a great time on a stage, great crowd, and I haven't had any other job in over a year. I guess I'm a professional musician. And that's how I realized.
Wow. Okay, that's a great ending to that. I really wondered where you were going with that. That's
how I
that's a
realized.
major pivotal moment in your life.
It was, and I mean, I wasn't, you know, I always loved music. I always wanted to play music. But for me to have that as my main profession, it wasn't a huge life goal. My life did not depend, or my happiness did not depend on that happening.
Okay.
Wow.
okay.
I loved playing music. I was going to do it as long as I could, but I always thought I'd do something else on the side. I'd train for radio stuff, music production,
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
stuff like that. So I
Yeah, but
thought
you
that-
are a good studio guy. Like even you like to sit around and twiddle by
Yes,
yourself. You know?
I do.
Yeah, you know. So
So, I mean, I thought I'd be related to it, you know, in the industry somehow. But for me to just realize that, bam, on stage, this is over 10 years ago now. I remember that so clearly.
I have a very
Wow.
important question, and I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for all of the people. What was your last job before you didn't have to have another job? The very last one. You don't have to say which McDonald's it was.
How did you know?
I just lucky. Yeah.
No, it was for one of Sweden's larger telecommunications companies. Everything from helping customers on the phone to what also, well, if somebody was a technician and
Yeah.
patching a phone line, and they needed to know which patch to go into to connect the new phone service and stuff like that.
But was this done only by phone or internet? I asked because of your hair.
No, I was on the phone all the time. I would basically be on a computer terminal looking at, oh yeah, no, you can't use patch B5 because it's busy there. You'll have to go into that one
But
or
this is-
install a new one.
But this is okay. This is a proper professional job. This is a white collar job.
Yep.
So, and had you not been famous, you could see yourself doing specifically that for the next 40 years, something along those lines.
No, not really. When I did that, I would only get like contracts for a couple of months and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember clearly that I wanted to ask them for leave.
Yeah.
Where before we did the 2006 tour with Edguy and Dragon Force, we went on tour there. I asked for leave for like 2 months, and can I come back? And they told me like, no, I couldn't.
Wow.
Tour.
I'm going on tour. Fuck you guys, basically.
Yeah.
So
a
there's
major
no
tour, like
yeah.
that's with Edgar Dragon Force. That's a
That was the first big tour we did with Nightliners and everything. So
Yeah.
for us,
Wow.
it wasn't not easy deal for
You're
me.
not gonna say no to that. I mean, actually, to be honest, there are a lot of people that would say no to that, and that's a shame.
Yep.
Because okay, I understand. Let's say okay, if you have a pregnant girlfriend or a pregnant boyfriend and you have to take care of, I'm trying to be gender neutral.
Yeah.
You're trying to take care. Yeah, I can understand. No, I've got to do a response. But
Well,
it was just you.
Yeah, it was just me, and it's also I totally understand everybody chooses a different path in life.
Sure.
And I am lucky in that way that I didn't have a super good employer, and I'm lucky that I didn't have
They
a
gave
really
you time
good.
that you came back.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, for me, it was an easy choice.
Yeah.
So I mean, in many cases, I know several really good musicians myself that aren't musicians because they. It's not only about their choices. It's where are you in your life when you have the opportunity
Right.
to do something with your
Right.
music? Have you spent years on another career? Do you have a good employer? Do you have a kid on the way?
Yeah.
All of these things. So I mean, I gotta say, we are pretty damn lucky. There's so many good musicians out there that
No, I'm absolutely.
Amen.
didn't do it.
And I'll tell you what. Just decided. Okay, you know how this episode's gonna end? I want you to Photoshop it so it looks like he's flipping burgers, right? And then I want you to play really uplifting music, like heartbreaking, like. No, it's not gonna. It doesn't have to. Just a still picture.
Okay.
Something. They're probably showing actually us talking about this, right? You know that. But it should say something like, to all those great musicians unsung. Thank you from Sabaton history. To all those musicians who sacrificed their musical lives for duty, for family, for honor, for fear, for complacency, or for even a better life. 10 points.
10 points. I like how the symbols on the tanks that they have are just tuning forks. Arranged almost like in a peace symbol. That's cool. Well, not really a peace symbol, but they're, 3 of them crossed. But they're tuning forks. That's cool. That's awesome.
All right,
Cool.
everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you so much for the support with the community. All the Patreons, everyone who's helping, sharing this. We really love doing this, and thanks to you, we can keep on doing it. So keep on doing what you do, and we will keep on doing what we do. Thank you.
Excellent. Awesome. Yeah, he's right. There's a lot of people. So many people I grew up with that were musicians that either they've given up or they found it wasn't for them or whatever. I mean, sometimes it's bad stuff that happens that have taken them out of the picture. I totally agree with what he said at the end there about those choices that we make, and I could tell you on my own personal level, yeah, there have been choices I've made that if I can go back and redo things, but until they can invent the time machine, that ain't gonna happen. It is what it is, and I enjoy doing what I'm doing right now because I hang out with all my Sabatonians out there and learning so much about music and being such a part of music. I really love it. So until the next time, my beautiful, wonderful family, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. I love you guys. Peace.